So where you from?
Brooklyn.
Hi, I'm Eric Adams, the Brooklyn Borough President. Two Steps Down is just such a significant part of our community.
Do you know the name of this place behind you?
Two steps down.
We've been a restaurant and catering company for almost 50 years now.
I mean, I wouldn't really think much if I was walking by. I'd probably just assume it was an apartment building or...
So you recognize this is 2 steps down, like when you pass?
Yeah, you got 2 steps.
Throughout the years, we've been open for 7 days a week.
Yeah, that was 2 steps down. I even think they used to have an awning that used to come out.
They took the sign down. I just noticed that.
Is it closed now? Is that what happened?
2 Steps never felt like it had to change because, you know, whatever's happening in the neighborhood.
As we go through this evolution, some people call it gentrification.
In terms of the gentrification going on, we never felt that we had to cater to it.
But the reality is that no one should be forced to leave and no one should be denied the right to come into the community.
We were here before there were dog walkers, 2 steps around here before there were nannies. You know, I'd never seen a nanny in my life.
We kind of like scaled back. We opened on Friday for karaoke.
Well, we rent it out for special events.
You know, most people have parties, but I think we have memory-making events, is what I would say, yeah.
This narrative of Black excellence is being spoken about. 2 steps down was where Black excellence was displayed. That was the last bastion of high-quality customer service because they knew who you were.
I grew with them because I'm now pushing 40, and I've been with them since I'm 16.
I always look at 2 steps down as a Black version of Cheer, where everybody knows your name.
And the ambiance was always great. The people were always great, and their collard greens, off the hook.
The fact that 2 steps down could say when they want to open, how they want to open, what time, how long, that's powerful.
My name is Yvette Mayo, and I had a passion when I was much younger. I'm close to 80 years old now, but when I was in my early 30s or late 20s, my passion was to be in business, a Black business, because there wasn't that many Black businesses. And I opened up a restaurant.
240 DeKalb Avenue was a little store. She always wanted to have a restaurant. Everyone else kept saying, no, really, that's what you're gonna do? She said, that's what I wanna do.
The building was originally a Chinese laundry. Yvette showed it to me and she said, look, Steve, you know what the name of this restaurant is? I said, what? She said,
2 steps down.
And I said, what? Why are you calling it 2 steps down? She said, look down.
When we had the food, you had to come 2 steps down to get in.
Well, I didn't always have upstairs. I didn't always own the building.
And then Yvette would come out and welcome everybody, and the arms would come out, and they would just come around you, and you became family.
1969 is when the doors opened for 2 steps down.
So 2 steps down is where we got our first job. Then it went on from generation to generation, and my son became a bartender here.
The coat check girl.
And that's just where, you know, Gabriel got his first job, you know.
Like, he was like a son here. And I remember when he started, I was bartending, and, you know, I tried to take him under my wing.
It's about Gabe?
Gabe was like a son to me. You know, he was like, Mom, he called me Mom. Mom, we need this, what do we need?
He wanted to make sure that this place was okay and not selling out by selling the space to some other gentrifier, colonizer, whatever you want to call it.
When I moved in over here and got the restaurant, the neighborhood just beginning to change. People were just moving in from other places and making it their home, buying brownstones.
We got married in 1982.
Mm-hmm.
I've always embraced this neighborhood, even in the 70s when everyone keeps talking about how bad it was.
And no one wanted to open a business there because they were afraid of the crime and some of the problems there. But, you know, you had these visionaries.
It's like everyone discovered Fort Greene, Clinton Hill at the same time. And I was right there.
There were some bad things that happened, but they were happening all over the country at that time, so it wasn't just this neighborhood.
The area then was considered Fort Greene, maybe now Clinton Hill.
That was the beginning of gentrification. It started in Fort Greene. Fort Greene was Fort Greene Projects with Hood.
Oh no! I remember you get into a cab, telling me coming into this neighborhood, and all of a sudden you hear the click.
You're going into Brooklyn, man.
The click of the locks in the back.
Yo!
If you went away from the Pratt campus, they said you would take your life in your hands. I was a renegade, so of course I did.
When I first came to New York to go to Pratt Institute, this whole area was still considered Bed-Stuy.
And those words, there's a corruption in the real estate business. I hate to get into this, but anything that was black, they considered a little negative. Even Bedford-Stuyvesant, now they call it Stuyvesant Heights.
Live from Bedford-Stuyvesant, the livest one representing BK to the fullest. Some of the cultural icons in this community, especially through music, Biggie, for example, lived on St. James between Fulton and Gates. Growing up, that was still Bed-Stuy. As far as we consider now, it's Clinton Hills.
They're just selling stuff. They don't care necessarily, I don't think, about the community. They're just trying to make their commission and move on, you know?
I needed a job. I needed to have money to support myself, feed myself, and pay my rent. I might have wondered what she wanted with me.
All she hired was Pratt students. And a lot of them had never been to New York before. And my mother would sit down with them and talk to them.
It gave me a different perspective on what the area was. I might have been a little young white girl from the suburbs who was new to Brooklyn, but it didn't matter. 2 steps down is where I became part of the neighborhood.
First two-step story. I DJ'd a birthday party for a friend of mine named Veronica Rosario. She was a producer at Good Day New York. I just knew that that was a dope spot with a downstairs, you know, where I did Veronica's party, and then I would come for brunch.
Mary J. Blige, she used to come on brunch. Biggie, they'd call on the phone. Smothered chicken, grits, double order, you know. We knew what they wanted. We worked with Spike on different movies when he first started.
2 Steps Down is where creative people met. It was right down the block from the headquarters of 40 Acres at the time. Spike made it cool to be from Fort Greene because that's where everybody was. That was the Black Boheme. To me, that was the influx right before gentrification kind of really came and pushed them out and pushed them over more to Bed-Stuy and other parts of Brooklyn.
Remember, we're brothers and sisters. You can still stand tall.
We heard there's like an awesome karaoke. Like our friends went, they didn't know, and they went in there, and there's like a really talented pool of seniors who can sing.
I'm kind of like known as the guy that does the Prince.
I ran into one of our karaoke regulars here in his car, and he had the windows up, so I knocked on the window and rolled it down, and a song was playing.
Purple rain, purple rain.
And I said, are you in here practicing your songs? And he said, yeah, I
am. 2 Steps Down is where comedy happened every Wednesday at Wild Wednesdays. I had a guy one time tell me, he said, man, you know why I stopped coming to 2 Steps Down? One of your comedians, man, talked about me for like 5 minutes, and he said I had a little fat ass waist. He said, had I known that was Mike Epps, I'd have let his ass talk about me for another 20 minutes. Tracy Morgan, me and Leslie Jones, who's on Saturday Night Live, actually used to do sketch here every week. It was a pre-star-studded gala. It was pre-star-studded. They was on their way, but people didn't know.
Erykah Badu, she did her first set here. I don't know how old she was, but she had to have a lot of incense burning. I remember that. And I remember saying, oh, I don't think so. We had a good clientele, we always did. As the neighborhood changed, that's when things got a little harder.
Well, the neighborhood was changing. White people became very interested in the neighborhood. And they thought they can go down to the building department of buildings and find out who owns buildings and all that and try to take the buildings away from you and all like that.
Sometimes they will say this music is too loud, you know, things like that. You know, when you do karaoke, and we only do it once a week. But there's like how many restaurants in the neighborhood, so it's not like we're the only one.
They really didn't like the idea of a black restaurant being there. And that gave me a fear that someone would come along before I could buy the building. Own your business, you want to protect your business, it's you. I just didn't want to give up. I didn't want to say, you're making me teary right now, talking about it. Take the cameras off, please.
For any parent, this will be their worst nightmare. But my son was loved so much.
It's hard to talk about how we lost him. I knew it was here because everybody was telling me about it. The flowers and the candles and the teddy bears. It's sad, but the fact that it was at Two Steps was perfect.
He met a lot of people right here. So
he was a good dude.
He was
a very good dude.
I personally went to put some flowers down, and I happened to go one night when a group of his friends were there, actually. And we all just started talking and reminiscing about our Gabe.
It did show me that my son was loved. I'm like, when did he have time to meet all these different kind of people? Of course, Two-Step.
I just started playing, man. I just started playing, and then I think what I loved about that repass was it wasn't sad. You know, it was like, we turned up. I want to give a big shout out to Two Steps Down. Two Steps Down, man, super dope. Like, the location of the DJ booth was dope because it was right there I was right by the balcony where everybody was spilling out and sitting on the stoops and stuff like that was Jessica, you know, Jessica Chong and
You could feel him here. Like I feel him here now, you know? I just miss him so much.
I remember getting called from some of the new residents saying that the noise is too loud. And I would tell them in a minute, listen, that restaurant was there long before you arrived. When you moved in that block, you were hearing the noise, and when you leave there, you're gonna hear the noise.
Okay, we're not going anywhere.
I've been going there since 1982. This is 2018.
For the Mayos to have that business for 5 decades, it's like the Isley Brothers. They just keep on shouting, you know, they just keep on moving on. It's amazing.
This is probably the longest of black institutions that have continued to thrive in spite of the racist gentrification because they had the power of ownership.
As you can see now, it looks like a brand new building because Ron, my daughter, invested in trying to maintain and keep it up in the neighborhood.
That building, Yvette bought that building. She moved in there in the beginning, renting it, but soon as her accountant offered it to her, she snatched it right from him. It'll last forever because she's the landlord.
Like right now, we want to expand to other places. Definitely in the islands, tropical islands.
What would you call it?
It'll still be Two Steps.